Guys. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Fraser City Council regular virtual meeting for Tuesday, November 24th, 2020 at 6:31 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for one
nation
under God, indivisible, with liberty for all.
Well, thank you. Ms. Dolan, could you call a roll call? And if council members could initiate that they are within the state of Michigan or their location.
Okay, Member Bransky. Can you hear me?
Fraser, Michigan.
Okay, Member Blanky.
Yep.
She won't be attending tonight.
Okay, Member Carnegie.
Present, Fraser City Hall.
Member Kalka.
Present here in Fraser, Michigan.
Member Lesage.
I'm here in Michigan.
Member Shornack.
here in Fraser, Michigan.
Member Winowicki.
Present in Fraser, Michigan.
Okay.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilwoman Blanky at this time.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Dolan, could you call the vote, please?
Yes. Member Bransky.
Yes.
Member Carnegie.
Yes.
Member Kalka.
Yes.
Member Lesage.
Yes.
Member Shornack.
Yes.
Member Winowicki.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item 4, approval agenda. I'll entertain a motion for approval unless anyone has any amendments at this time. I see none.
Motion to approve the agenda as written.
Have a motion to approve. Second. I'll second it then.
I said second.
Oh, sorry. I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay. Second by Patrice Shornack. Ms. Dolan, please call the vote.
Hey, Member Bransky.
Yes.
Member Carnegie.
Yes.
Member Kalka.
Yes.
Member Lesage.
Yes.
Member Shornack.
Yes.
Member Winowicki.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Motion carries. At this time, item 5, citizen participation on agenda items. We have 3 agenda items only tonight. And if there's anybody in the audience who would like to comment at this time, if they're not going to be around toward the end of the meeting, please let yourself be known. Okay, who is it? Okay. Want to go ahead and let her in? Okay, hi, Cheryl.
Hello, Mayor. Hi, Council.
Good.
Thank you very much for having me on tonight.
Okay, you have the floor.
I just wanted to go over the recreation, what's going on with it. And I had emailed Council and the Commission yesterday. And just in full transparency for people watching, I'd like to read my email. Good morning. Last week, the Director of Recreation was permanently laid off. As a Recreation Commissioner, I have some questions that I expect to be addressed at the Council meeting tomorrow. 1, what is your plan going forward with the Recreation program? Is there no more Recreation Department? What will happen with the Senior Center? 2, there are current programs going on like Letters to Santa and the Holiday Decoration Contest. What happens to programs that would be starting back up in the spring? What about the large events the Recreation Department puts on every year, such as Fall Fest, City Picnic, Christmas in Fraser, etc.? These events are the heart and soul of our city, and having an unknown future does not sit well with me as a commissioner and as a resident. 3, when were you planning on telling the Recreation Commission and the residents that Christina Woods no longer works in the city? Doing this layoff in between council meetings without allowing Christina to give her presentation on the future of recreation is suspicious. 4, what is the reasoning behind the permanent layoff? Christina's been one of the shining stars in the city and has done a lot with very little. I'm not sure you understand the magnitude of letting an employee like this go. And 5, what will happen to the farmers market and the dog park they are fundraising for? It was run under the Recreation Department. These are just some of the many questions I have regarding this matter. I'm very disappointed with the decision to let our recreation director go, especially in the manner it was done. Parks and Recreation is an important department. To see it just vanish overnight without an actual plan in place first is irresponsible. Going back to my third question, I find it unprofessional that this happened last week and the Recreation Commission still has yet to receive any email or notice on this matter. We are a group of volunteers who love our city and want to see it thrive. I hope these questions don't go unanswered, and I hope they are addressed at the council meeting tomorrow and not just glossed over. This is a big decision made by you and will affect the city of Fraser as a whole. Thank you. I just wanted to give my questions out there and hope that they do get answered.
Yeah,
So I
thank
appreciate
you,
it.
thank you for reading through that, and I hope that we can answer most or all of your questions through when we get to the city manager. We'll be addressing that at the time.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you much. Is there anybody else at this time?
So is Mark going to email her or is Mark going to answer her now?
On the agenda item, we'll talk about it at the agenda time.
Okay, I just wanted clarification.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I see none, Lieutenant. Okay, I'll bring it back up to the chair. Closed citizen participation. Item 6, request for council action. Item A, a resolution of the City Council of City of Fraser authorizing the agreement within Robinson Capital LLC for investment services. Mr. Thompson, did you want to comment on this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my computer isn't behaving as well today as it did at our last meeting. So if I'm broken up, I apologize in advance for that. This resolution is a continuation of our efforts to better handle our investment portfolio. It does three things consistent with our previous efforts. Number one, it helps us diversify our investments so that we are safe. It helps us keep them liquid so that they are available when we need them. And the third thing that it does is it helps us earn a little bit of a return on our investment. In today's market, a little bit of a return is about all one can hope for. So this is a second piece. If you'll recall, at the last meeting, we approved our membership in the Michigan, my class, the Cooperative Liquid Asset Program. And this is a second way we will handle some of our cash and invest it. As I've indicated, it will primarily be exclusively in the beginning, at least, in certificates of deposit through the Robinson Capital company. They're located in Southeast Michigan, and frankly, we learned of them through Finance Director Walters. He is using them in Roseville. So we would ask for this resolution to be adopted so we can further diversify our investments and meet our other investment strategy goals.
Great, thank you very much. Councilwoman Shornack.
Yeah, I just had a question with regards to the part where it was discussing fees, the implementation of the fees. My question is this: are we going to be notified how much we are investing in each area, and then what the fee schedule is and what we'll be paying versus? Because I want to, I read it that, we have a 30-day in or out. So if we choose no longer to withhold our money there, we have to send them a notice within writing and then give them a 30-day notice. But my question is, before we move funds in a year.
I didn't hear all of your question because of my computer problems here, but in answer to your question, our investment policy that we adopted 2 or 3 meetings back requires reporting of our investment portfolio and costs related to that. And I do not remember whether that requirement is quarterly or on a 6-month basis, but it's one or the other. So the answer to your question is yes, you'll know all that, where the money is and what our fees are. In this case, the fees for investment are, we don't pay a fee. They get a little piece of the interest rate. So when we invest in a CD, and right now they're paying 0.3%, something like that. But actually CDs are one of the best investments for our type of investing right now. So they get a little bit for placing that. But our the 3% or whatever will be net of their costs.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, would someone like to make a motion for the resolution?
I might just say, Mr. Mayor, we're excited about this opportunity and think it's an important step for the financial management in our
Oh, it
community.
definitely is. Mayor Pro Tem Winawicki. Unmute, Dave.
There you go.
You got it now? Okay.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution of the City Council to the City of Fraser authorizing the agreement with Robinson Capital LLC for investment services.
Second.
We have a motion second, and to confirm that's resolution number 2020-008. Any other comments and questions on the motion? Okay, Ms. Dolan, could you please call a vote?
Member Baranski,
Yes.
Member Carnegie,
Yes.
Member Kalka,
Yes.
Member Lesage,
Yes.
Member Shornack,
Yes.
Member Winawicki.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Pending items, unfinished business, and report of city administration. Item A, discussion of park and recreation and senior center due to COVID-19. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I made some notes here, and I'd like to refer to, if you don't mind, as I have on all three of the discussion items that we have. The COVID-19 virus is continuing to affect all aspects of our lives, and its impact on employment, particularly in the service sectors of our economy, has been severe. As we know, in fact, earlier this year, it was felt in Fraser when we laid off much of the recreation staff at that time. At that time, we also reduced the hours of the recreation director. There was a time earlier this year when it looked as if things were moving in the right direction or in a positive direction related to the virus, but of late, obviously, we are all aware that the situation is getting worse, and improvement remains uncertain, and certainly any improvement is way in the future. This past Wednesday, I issued a layoff notice to Christina Woods, the Director of Parks and Recreation. Not an easy thing to do. Christina's worked for the city for 20 years, and she considers Fraser her home. And I'd like to thank her for her years of service to our citizens, and frankly, an additional thanks to Christina because on Thursday, the day after I issued the notice, she provided some suggestions and some insight as to how we might continue with certain programs, particularly the van service program, and I want to address that in a moment. So, not an easy thing to do on Wednesday. Thought it was the right thing to do for the community from the financial standpoint, and particularly with the recognition that the COVID virus is continuing to affect all of us and all of our workplaces, and we have a responsibility to respond accordingly. But again, as I said, not easy to do for someone who has considers this her home and has worked here for 20 years. I want to address a couple of other items related to recreation, and one of them is the van service. We recognize its importance, and this relates to where are we going from here forward. Earlier this year, that service was reduced and focused only on essential trips, and we will continue that service because of the safety implications. There are people who rely on that service to get to the doctors or the pharmacy or the grocery store. Excuse me, our public safety department will be handling coordination of that program, at least initially. Nicole Reinhardt has picked up the ball and is making good progress with that already. We met yesterday with, Nicole did, and then I did as well with the intake person, Diane Opaleski. We are taking delivery of the new van tomorrow. and have not yet met with the van driver, but we're making arrangements to do that. Just for council's information, the van averages about 10 trips a week, generally only on Tuesdays and Thursday. We may be needing to find a backup van driver. We only have one right now. But we expect this program to continue without interruption, again, because of its importance for our citizens related to getting them to the grocery store or to their doctor's offices, that kind of thing. Farmers market also has been mentioned recently, and I'm personally looking forward to learning more about it. When I got here, it was late in the year, but I understand it's very important to the community for a number of reasons, both from a social standpoint and part of the efforts that they're undertaking to make sure that they contribute back to the community as it relates to the proposed dog park. They have a line item within our budget, and it is that will remain, that they contribute to the budget and then they use money for the budget. We've had very many positive comments about it, and I spoke earlier today with Mrs. Berube about the program, and we hope that we'll continue with that. But right now, we do not plan on moving forward with other activities, and I want to be clear about that. We don't say that with any great pleasure. But some of the other things that were going on, I suspect they will cease. Unless we get volunteers who are able and interested in doing some of those things, I don't expect us to be moving forward on things like the Santa Claus letters or some of the other things that have been mentioned. It's a tough time, difficult decisions had to be made, and I made those decisions this past week. Question was asked about why we did not tell people, and I would say in response to that, Mr. Mayor, that there are no good ways to do that. It's an unpleasant circumstance under any circumstances, unpleasant event rather, under any circumstances. We wanted to handle it the best way we thought we could, and frankly, that was to allow Christina to tell folks what had occurred as opposed to us telling them. We'll be following up with the rec board soon, and we hope that those we hope that those discussions are positive and productive. But there was a reason we took the action we did, and the reason we took the approach that we did. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Council, anybody? Councilwoman Baranski.
So, Mr. Thompson, then, if I'm understanding you in the packet that you put together, this is a temporary situation based on COVID that you made this decision?
Well, there are two different parts to your question, Mr. Baranski. The layoff notice says that it is driven by COVID very clearly, but it also says that in the absence of a date that we can look forward to, then we consider it, frankly, at this point, it's a permanent layoff, given the circumstances that exist right now.
Okay, that makes sense. And then is your plan then to try to, if possible, utilize the volunteers to do some of these activities in the future, like letters to Santa? I forget what, I know letters to Santa was mentioned. I forget what the other thing was.
Christmas decorations for how.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Which obviously we're not having, I'm assuming we're not having any gathering this year. But you're going to try to, if possible, facilitate with volunteers anything that could be run via volunteers, as opposed to having city tax dollars be incurred at this point?
Well, obviously, part of our action was related to appropriate use of city tax dollars, so we want to be very cognizant of that. And we'll be meeting with the rec board and trying to get some guidance from them and some assistance from them. Certainly, this is a difficult time to make a decision like this, difficult for Christina specifically, and there are other activities going on in the community. We're getting into the holiday season. So to the extent that we can do some of those activities, we'll look at it, but I do not expect to use city staff people to be doing those kinds of things.
Okay. Great. Thank you for the update. I appreciate it. I know we'd asked for it, and thank you for that. And by ask for it, I mean the update.
Anybody else at this time?
I have questions.
Councilwoman Suzanne Goka. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I know that I had wanted to talk about this in great detail at the last council meeting. However, I mean, I think that Mark has addressed the issues that I think we were all facing. And I mean, since that time, we've had a complete pause that's been issued by the governor. So, I mean, there really isn't anything to talk about at this point. It is what it is, unfortunately. So I just wanted to indicate that. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lessig.
Yes. Mark, do you have a ballpark number on the net cost of that department, since we still do have the senior activity center? We do have the fixed cost of that, and what we are not spending through the end of the year, assuming we don't have any program.
I'm not sure I have exactly the numbers you're asking for, but I'll share the numbers I do have. In fiscal year 2018, 2019, and I'll just go to the net cost to the city in fiscal 18 and 19 was $242,000. That's revenues plus expenditures, and expenditures were larger, so there was a net cost, $242,000. In fiscal year 2019 to 2020, the net cost was $289,000. I rounded these off, $289,000 in fiscal year 19 and 20. This year, and I don't have, this year was obviously just a partial year. The net cost is about I believe it's $19,000 year to date through maybe November 1st. I don't have those numbers exactly.
Okay, so if this goes through to the end of June of next year, that would save us about $270,000 or $288,000 perhaps? Or do we have an idea of what we won't be contributing from general fund? I guess that's the question.
270, yeah.
Yeah, that might be a little high. I mean, we've got to heat the building. We've got to do some of those things. Our expenses won't go to zero, obviously,
right.
But
absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, if we looked at the last 2 years, you know, we're in a net cost of $240 to $290, depending on which year you look at. So, as I said, our savings won't go to zero, or our costs won't go to zero. We're already right now year to date about the negative $19,000, and that will grow, but it won't grow very large, I don't think.
Okay, so we cut the budget in April and May when we passed this before you were here, and so we already knew we were going to spend less money. I'd be interested to know what the forecast is for the whole year on what we budgeted for and what we project we will end up spending, because I'm sure that hopefully is a larger number than 20,000. So if we can get that number in the near future, that would
be happy to put that together for you. I'm sorry I don't have it this evening, but we'll get it for you.
So, and last question, I guess, would be, at this moment, the recreation department is essentially closed, and there is no programming other than what you just outlined there. And the letters to Santa are not happening, and the decorating contest won't be happening at this point.
I think that's safe to say right now. We may be able to do some of that with volunteers, but right now that's a safe statement to make, with the exception of the van program, which we think will go on uninterrupted. But that program,
and we get funding for that.
Yeah, and we get some money for that. In fact, we approved those funds at our last council meeting, in fact.
So who will make the announcement that the letters to Santa, and I know this sounds small at a council meeting, but who will make the announcement that letters to Santa and the other programs are going to be canceled for this?
Yes, sir. We'll take care of that from my office.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else at this time? Okay, we'll move on to item B, discussion of the motor pool. I think this is your night, Mark. So you have the floor again. This is a long-term project subject.
And I try to keep these reports, my comments brief. Now, this is a government bureaucrat telling you that he's going to keep his comments brief, so you have to remember that. But I'll do that in order to allow for some discussion. But again, let me read some notes that I have here. The term motor pool kind of, in my mind, creates a vision of a bunch of mechanics all covered in grease and that sort of thing. That's not what we have here. In fact, we do hardly any work on vehicles anymore. We sub that work out. So for Fraser, the term motor pool is really a fund that we use for accounting purposes. And as opposed to a place where a lot of work gets done. The motor pool, in terms of financial information, the motor pool receives funds or money from the various other departments. For example, this year's budget, the Department of Public Safety we anticipate transferring about $290,000 to the motor pool. The total revenues from all sources this year are budgeted at $836,000. The expenditures are budgeted at $865,000, which shows a deficit of about $29,000 or $30,000. On the other hand, on July 1, when we start our fiscal year, there was a balance in that fund. If you think of a fund as sort of maybe a bucket of money might be a way to look at it. There's a balance in that fund of nearly $900,000. So a $29,000 deficit, not a major concern. Also, in this year's budget, we have included $91,000 in personnel costs. Frankly, we haven't used any of that money yet, and we haven't charged anything to those items, and at this point, not sure we will. So the budget side, the appropriation side may be a little high there anyway. I have provided to the council sort of a very rough look at what percentage of the motor pool funds various departments provide, consolidating the Department of Public Works. It looks like we may need to rebalance that a little bit, but it doesn't look that far off. One of the driving factors, of course, in our case, in the motor pool fund, and by virtue of the way we structured the budget, is how many vehicles we have, quite frankly, and to a lesser extent, or to an equal extent, I guess, is the age of those vehicles as well. We currently have 52 vehicles in the entire fleet. About 30 of those are through the enterprise relationship, and 22 are city-owned. We own them ourselves. So fleet size is something, and very honestly, we've just begun to look at that. So I don't have a definitive answer on lots of things, but there is some information we'd like to provide with you as it relates to the size of the fleet. One item is that as recently as 4 years ago, the Department of Public Safety had 30 vehicles. They have 21 now. And you've got that information. We've provided it to you. It appears that we can take our fleet of 52 vehicles and reduce it by 5. That's sort of in our plan anyway, as I understand it. And again, I wasn't here when we put the budget together, and frankly, don't have a real good handle on the fleet yet. But nevertheless, it appears that there are opportunities to reduce the size of the fleet even further. Now, having said that, it's important that everyone recognizes that in our case and in any business like ours, that vehicles are a tool that are critical to our ability to provide service to our citizens. So our operation runs on people and it runs on vehicles. Those are two key pieces of what we do. And if we don't have people and we don't have vehicles, our service suffers a great deal. The other item I'd like to talk about very briefly is the agreement we have with Enterprise. This is, as I understand it, we've had this agreement for the last 8 or 9 years. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we have 30 vehicles that are of 30 of the 52. That's about 60% of our fleet is covered by the Enterprise agreement that we have. This year's budget includes $190,000 to Enterprise. And I don't know whether that includes additional vehicles. I don't know what that number estimates, whether that's current vehicles or potential additional vehicles. Again, I didn't participate in putting the budget together. We had a presentation from Enterprise last week about the services that they provide and the financing that they provide as well. And I have to be honest with you, as I told the folks from Enterprise, we're going to have to, I needed some time to think about that, and then we're going to have that presentation again, because I don't have a real good handle on the Enterprise arrangement at this point. So I know it's kind of controversial, and I can't tell you that I have a strong opinion that it's good or it's bad. I simply don't know enough about it yet. But I do know that we've been involved with them for the last 8 or 9 years, and 60% of our fleet we have acquired through the Enterprise plan. So it is significant. We need to, frankly, I need to have a better handle on it. So I'm really not in a position to address it today, other than to say I was I did not follow the presentation, probably a lack of understanding on my part. Anyway, so I think from a standpoint of a fleet management, I think we can reduce it a little bit. And candidly, that relates to recreation, that relates to IT, and Nick has indicated that there are some vehicles in the public works department that we can eliminate and reduce the size of the fleet there. So,
Mark, I think we do have some questions regarding to the fleet, and also I wasn't surprised that you were confused or the presentation is very difficult to follow and to understand. I think I've seen it 2 or 3 times, and I still don't really get it 100% yet either. So, so thank you for taking the time to really try to understand it before an opinion or decisions are made. That's really important.
I have hope 1 or 2 more presentations, and I'll understand it.
Great. Councilwoman Shornack.
Yeah, I actually had a question, because I know Nick had mentioned that we are renting a street sweeper. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. So I was just wondering, because I don't remember ever getting anything that said, this is how much a new one would cost, this is how much it costs to rent. So we could see the over and under on it to see what we're going to be doing with that, because I know our street sweeper died. May it rest in peace. But I'm trying to figure out where we are on that.
You're correct. The one that we have is no longer serviceable. And there are, I would say, kind of 3 options to look at as it relates to street sweeping. And I think it's like many things that we do. Our goal is to sweep streets, to keep the streets clean. There are good reasons to do that. The question then becomes, what's the best method to do that? And we could rent a street sweeper, which is what we're doing now. I suspect that's not the best long-term method, but that is a method. We're doing that for a leaf pickup program, but could we do that in the long term? I think so, but I don't think that would make any sense. So another option is to purchase a street sweeper. And quite frankly, there are companies that do a lot of street sweeping as well. And look at that and make a judgment about which one of those options best serves our community. And we haven't done that.
Yeah, I was just,
Street
I know that
sweepers,
Nick had mentioned it before, and I just didn't know like when we should be expecting those three, here's the three of them, which one is the best option for us at this
Right.
time. So I was just wondering if we're going to get that anytime in the near future, just because I would like to have that information before we go into our next budget season. So sooner is better, so that, we can allocate the correct
No
funds
question
to
about
whatever we're going to do. Yeah. Okay.
And also, Mark, we've talked in the past, and I've mentioned in the past, but when we have these big capital purchases for equipment, like I know we still need a fire truck, we need a street sweeper. I don't know if the High Ranger, it's a newer one, but if we can have accounts for these vehicles that money can be put into these and aside every budget year, that way when it comes time to purchase, it's not a shock. It's just like the ambulance. We have money comes in for the ambulance. When we have to replace it, it's there to replace it, and it doesn't take a lot of searching around for funds to do that. So maybe it's something that we could look at, and for these big purchases to have some funds put aside with some of the money that is available in those accounts.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I might respond to that for a moment, it is my hope that I had hoped for December, but frankly, January is looking more likely now. And you and I spoke about this the other day. I'd like to have a opportunity to have a financial presentation for the council, sort of a work session, maybe not part of a larger extensive budget, but sort of a one topic discussion where we could all get an understanding of what the financial situation of the community is in advance of the coming budget season, so that we all started with a good solid foundation regarding the financial situation. Mr. Walters and I have talked about that. We haven't put it together yet, but we think it's worthwhile, and we'd like to do that after the first of the year. It would be a lengthy presentation. It's a complex subject, but that would be a place to start those discussions as well.
Absolutely. I think we called it the State of the City presentation. So it would be pretty important to have that going into a budget year, and something that I think we've talked about many years since I've been up here, and it's just never been done. So, Councilwoman Baranski.
Yeah, following up on that, I don't know if you need a motion for that, but I think that's vital. And I think January is a great time for it while we still will have Mark here. So whatever you need to do, if you need a motion, I make the motion. If not, whatever. But with regard to the motor pool, I have a couple questions. One of the reasons that this first came up from my perspective was when we were back doing the budget, we had consistently in this fund over $900,000 year in and year out. And the question that I raised at that time was, did we actually need that much money in that fund? What was the purpose of that? And we did talk, and Nick gave us a great explanation about certain heavy duty vehicles. But what I wanted to know was, and what came out of that conversation was, obviously we have a misalignment with regard to how much is being put in for maintenance and all that stuff. So I still want to know for the next budget year, what, if any, reductions we can make. And you just gave me 91,000, which is amazing, because boom, that's, real money we can put somewhere else. But anywhere else that we can reduce our contributions to the motor fund, and or if there's opportunity to take funding out to use in other ways to reduce our reliance on PA 33. If either A, we're not able to do it because we exceed 15,000, or B, to just take away that burden from the taxpayers. So that's just something to keep in mind going forward. Also, thank you for putting together this comprehensive list. The last list I got from prior city manager didn't have all the vehicles on it. But so I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I know Nick had given us something that was very thorough. Unfortunately, because it was a different focus, I couldn't use it like I can use this one, because now it's all clear. So thank you for combining Nick's efforts with your efforts to get us something that we can read. The one question I have, and maybe this was, have any vehicles been sold this year or turned back in? Because I know when we approved the utility truck for the DP, Department of Public Safety, they said that they were going to turn in one of the vehicles, and I don't see anything highlighted on here in that regard.
We haven't, I don't believe we have received delivery of the new vehicle, and so it would be premature to dispose of the old one. And to be honest with you, I presume that's what our plan is, but I don't know.
Yeah, that is correct.
Fair.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
I
these
think-
vehicles, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think we expect delivery in the next couple of weeks on the new
Yeah.
vehicle.
Awesome. So what's the plan for these vehicles that are highlighted in yellow? When are they getting turned in? Or is this just something we have to approve?
No, I don't think it's anything we need to approve. And as soon as we can, if we're not using them, we'll get rid of them. And certainly the IT and the rec vehicles, I think we can do them anytime. Those are part of the enterprise program, but I think we have the ability to return them at any time, but I'm not sure, quite frankly. So, but we have no interest in keeping vehicles we aren't using.
Right. And I guess the only thing then that I would ask is just that globally, now that we've really narrowed it down and everyone has done an amazing job of reducing vehicles, you went through how many we reduced from every department. If there's a different vehicle, some of them look newer than some of the older vehicles we have. So I wouldn't want to necessarily get rid of a 2017 if we have a 2012 or a 2007. And so just make sure before we turn in something, if there's a better thing to turn in, because at the end of the day, we want to reduce our expenses and maximize our net recovery. That's the purpose of this. So the more money we can get up front and maintain a newer vehicle, that's obviously better for the city in the long run. But obviously then I defer to you and Nick and the other department heads with regard to the timing of all this, and appreciate all the effort you have done.
Well, I might add that the information that you've gotten is all from Nick, so he's the person who deserves the credit for putting information together.
Well, then thank you very much, Nick, for doing all this for us. We greatly appreciate this information that we've been asking for, not from you directly, but thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kolka.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a little bit of a different take, because I do recall us going through this back during the last budget process. And I recall asking specifically for the information that Mark just talked about to go through and do the deep dive. And I remember having this conversation with Nick either later part of the summer and asked if October would be okay, if he needed John's help to get through all this, because it isn't an easy situation to try to figure out. What are these contributions based on? What are the allocations for? So today for me, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what we asked for. This is a start of it. And I understand that Mark is trying to be the one to wrap his brain around everything that's going on. But these are things I have asked for, and we even pushed it off a month. So I'm not sure why we're not getting the information that was requested then. This is a start. I'm not sure why I need to know the VIN number of a vehicle or the plate number. I would like to know basically the monthly payments of each of these vehicles. I'd like to know the proposed yearly maintenance for each of these vehicles, what that consists of, what the contribution of, what that actually is broken down and means at the end of the day, how you formulate that, how the public safety, the 359,000 contribution to the motor pool, how that's allocated. I don't have that today. Weather maintenance is included. If we have enterprise, what that is, what that maintenance is, what that includes, oil changes, is that tires, is that just, basic, maintenance. And that is what I was looking for when we talked about this, because for the exact same reason that Amy just said, because we didn't know what the money was, what was, are these real numbers? In other words, are these real numbers? So I'm very disappointed, because this is the same kind of issue. We keep getting, it's like we're not getting what we ask for. We're getting a version of something. And it's just really frustrating. It's just really incredibly frustrating to sit up here and ask for things and not get what we ask for. And, it's just, for me, I mean, no disrespect to the mayor, but I did ask for this. I said, where's the deep dive? I want to do this deep dive. And we're getting this, and this isn't what we asked for. And like I said, I know that Mark is trying to wrap his brain around what's going on because he's coming late to the table. But this is a conversation. And I know, Nick, you remember the conversation we had where I said, I want to get into these numbers, that you can work with John and get me something. Is October okay? You said yes, and we pushed it off to November. And now I'm getting, so that column, the spreadsheet that you gave us, while it's great in a lot of ways and it's getting us a couple of steps closer, it's not what we need. I want to know where the allocation, how we come up with these contributions for each of the different departments, public safety, public works. What does that $419,000 consist of exactly? Where is that, what is that? What's the meat and potatoes of that? So that's what I'm asking for. And I apologize if I wasn't clear, but we need an itemization of what these amounts are for. So then that will help us then move into the next, I think, stage. So those are my thoughts about this, and it's just incredibly frustrating. I just want to be able to move forward. And I feel like now we're talking about January, and, it's just, we have vehicles we need to replace, and we need to get through this step before we can get to that step. So, those are my thoughts. And I just, I hope we take them seriously. I'm just really very frustrated about this whole thing. This is why I tried to give enough notice on this issue. So, so we could have a productive conversation about exactly where this money is going and what it's for and how we're coming up with these contributions and how they're being allocated. And today I'm nowhere closer to that. And that's very disappointing. So,
Mrs. Calco, let me ask a couple questions so that we can properly respond to your inquiry. You would like, if we were to pick a random vehicle, presuming that vehicle was on the enterprise kind of side of the equation, you'd be interested in knowing what the lease is, what the maintenance costs might be, and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And we can certainly provide that information. I guess I didn't realize that was your level of interest, but we can certainly provide that information. The other piece it sounds like that you're interested in is how it is we determine a contribution to the motor pool fund from, say, the water and sewer fund or wherever.
Yes.
And we can certainly tell you what those contributions are. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to tell you where that number came from exactly. I suspect, and I don't know this, but I suspect that it was a kind of a historical number that has been massaged a little bit over time. And it may relate to the number of vehicles. I don't know what it relates to. And,
sure.
And we'll do what we can, but I'm not sure we're going to come back to you with a definitive answer that says, the public safety department contribution is budgeted at $290,000 and we can account for exactly where that came from. We'll do the best we can, but I suspect that's going to be kind of we're not sure where that number came from.
So just to be clear, I understand that in a lot of these are estimates, but what I'm trying to get is a better understanding of what we have, right? What we need to spend and how we get there. So right now, all I know is the contribution to the motor pool for public safety is 42%, and there's an amount there. If you give me some sort of allocation as to how that's the formula, even if it's an estimate formula that we've got so many cars, we divide that by whatever, and at least I have a better idea. And I think council has a better idea as to whether or not the monies we're putting in there are monies, the budget is, if you will, is an accurate budget. Should we raise it up? Is there money in there that we could allocate to different things? Because, as Amy said, it appeared to be money in that account last year. And we, obviously are trying to not raise, taxes. So we're trying to look for every single dime and dollar that we can, so that we don't have to put it back on our taxpayers. And if there's $1 million sitting in the motor pool and we don't have any real concrete, idea of how these numbers are coming, we're coming to those numbers, just that there's these contributions from each of the departments, that money could sit there for years and years, and it might be money we could actually use, or parts of that money we could actually use. So, and that was a whole discussion we had during the budget process with regard to that.
Well, it would be my hope that the next budget process, to the extent that I'm involved with it, will be more meaningful for everyone involved.
Thank you.
We'll put the information together.
And also, Mark, I think Ms. Coca had a lot of the same questions I had last year. It's almost like you have to separate the enterprise vehicles with the ones that the city owns and have two different types. But enterprise should be able to print you everything you want on every vehicle and what it is.
Sure.
I've talked to them. I've seen their spreadsheets, and it should be very simple for them just to give you anything that you want, even the oil changes, the costs, and we talked about it a little bit. So
absolutely, that won't be a problem at all.
Okay, thank you.
We will. We can give you all the information we can get. It'll probably be more than you want. But
well, then you can yell at us if it's more than what we want.
That's right.
Mayor Pro Tem Winowicki.
Music to our ears.
Yeah. So just to follow up a little bit on Councilwoman Kauka's comments, it should be easy enough to budget for a vehicle based on previous history of how much maintenance went into it, what the payment is on it, and any anticipated major repairs that might be needed. And that should be a fairly simple formula. In my private world, in my private job, that's how we budget for the vehicles that we have in our fleet, is that we take the history and, we're able to calculate and add a little percentage for any anticipated major repairs. So repairs, cost of insurance, that kind of thing. So anyway, that was just a follow up on that. The only question I have over and above everyone else's questions is that I know several meetings ago that we asked to make sure that all city vehicles in operation were appropriately badged as a city vehicle. And I'm wondering if that has taken place yet. Apart from the ones that we're anticipating getting rid of, I wouldn't want to spend the money to badge those, but at least the ones that are not badged, that or have not been badged in the past, do they bear the city emblem, identifying it as a city vehicle?
Well, I guess two thoughts. First of all, I don't know the answer to your question for every vehicle. There are some vehicles, by virtue of the work that we do, that we do not want to have identified. Although those are easily, you can account for those, and the ones, the others, we certainly can. I did not realize that discussion had taken place, and frankly, I don't know the answer. But we don't want to do that with all of our vehicles. There's some vehicles we do not want to have identified for primarily for law enforcement purposes.
Right.
But others, I would agree with you. So I don't know the answer, but we'll find out. And let me rephrase that. We'll get it done. I don't know the answer, but we'll get it done where it's appropriate, and that will be most vehicles. But there are some we don't want to have identified.
Right. I totally understand the law enforcement vehicles, any undercover work, things like that. And I totally understand that. But a lot of the other vehicles that have not been badged really should be appropriately badged.
Well, yes, sir. I agree with you. Just for identification purposes, not only where they are, but so that the person who's in that vehicle is a city employee as opposed to a civilian, so to speak. So we'll take care of that.
Okay. Anybody else at this time? Okay, we'll move on to item C, discussions on information services IT.
Is it my turn now, Mayor?
Mr. Thompson.
We have not, and again, I have some notes I'm going to refer to here. I'll try to be brief. We've not had anybody formally in an IT position since about September 1st. And candidly, we've been getting along pretty well. Although the current situation is not the long-term solution, but we have been getting along well. Thanks in order to Lieutenant Bisbee. And as I've indicated previously, I'm sure he and I would say that the real thanks go to Eric Myers and Nicole Reinhardt, both of the Public Safety Department. Not sure where we would be without both of them. Strangely enough, things seem to be going much more smoothly. We have things that are working now that weren't working a year ago or 2 years ago, in fact, and now they're functioning. We have a big plotter in the building department that I don't think, as someone said, hadn't worked for 3 years, but it's working again now, thanks to Eric and I think Nicole both. Hearing compliments about both of them from other members of the staff. So things are actually moving in a pretty good direction in that regard. 2 or 3 other specific topics under the kind of the IT category. We have made the transition from Civic Engage to Civic Engage from Civic Plus. There was a time when we were concerned about meeting their deadlines. Evidently, we hadn't been responsive. They were telling us that if we didn't do something by the end of the year, we would have no website. We've gotten that done and we've met their deadlines. The transition will be finished in the first quarter of next year. At that point, we can determine whether or not we want to stay with Civic Engage as a long-term provider. Again, Sergeant Myers is the responsible person there. One topic. Second topic, council meetings. The new broadcasting system has been installed in the council chambers and we're using it this evening. As I understand it, that was the plan when I left the office this afternoon. Our people are being trained and things seem to be going smoothly. Thanks there again to Sergeant Myers and Ed Horn. We're working through some specific issues, particularly as they relate to Comcast. The sort of the complementary system that we envision for the Senior Activity Center is partially installed. It's not complete yet. What I didn't know, and I just learned in the last couple of days, is that system is really a portable system. So we would be able to use that from the Senior Activity Center, but we'd also be able to take it outside or to other locations as well. So as things develop, we maybe get creative with it and use it in some manners we hadn't initially thought about. In regard to the larger sort of overall system analysis, we have not made a great deal of progress there. And actually, I think that's a positive thing. I think we're learning more about our needs in the existing system. And I think we'll be able to do a better job with the larger upgrade, which is clearly needed. We're using very old equipment that is failing more frequently than we would like. We have a proposal for that upgrade. It was dated in July. We probably need to get an updated proposal from Intercomp, who provided that proposal to us. But we also expect to get some competitive quotes as well before we move forward. So candidly, on the overall system upgrade, we've not made much progress. We've been busy just sort of keeping things going and getting the stuff that we have up and running. Soon, we'll be able to start focusing on the future in terms of the systems upgrades that we need on the large, from the large picture, I suppose. But I think we're okay where we are for right now, and this allows us time to make a good long-term decision as opposed to a sort of a quick decision. So that's kind of where we are in terms of staffing. Candidly, we have not moved forward either with finding a person to put in there or with a contractor. We haven't moved on that. We've been busy doing other things with IT and frankly making pretty good progress, I think. That's the end of my last report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mark. And also, just for your information and Don's information, today I received a whole packet from WOW TV, internet, and phone for a new franchise agreement contract. So I will leave this on your desk today, and we'll have to get with Don and look and review this contract that they've sent me.
Great, thank you.
It's a big package, so it wants me to sign all these places, but we have to review it first. So, Councilwoman Baranski.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess my concern is kind of global. And first and foremost, obviously, tremendous thanks to Lieutenant Bisbee, Sergeant Meyer, and Nicole Reinhardt for helping us do everything we've been able to do, from literally broadcasting these meetings to making sure that our employees have the equipment they need to the best of their abilities over the last, almost 3 months now. Clearly, huge thanks. They have regular jobs they're doing in addition to the IT. And so thank you for that. Obviously, that is not an ideal way to, or an efficient way to run the department or to put that load on them, especially Lieutenant Bisbee, who's actually doing triple duty currently, given some other issues that are going on in the city. And we had, this summer, I think it was, discussed and put out a resolution or a motion to explore the economic feasibility of outsourcing the department. Now that we definitively do not have an IT employee, I would like to see us explore, and now that we have a blank canvas, so we've fixed things, we have things to fix, and it's not I'm not dissing Eric Myers because I know he is a genius when it comes to computers, but I would like to see what IT experts who do this exclusively, what their thoughts are with regard to where we build the city going forward and how much that would cost us. Because I think I'm assuming, I don't know how much time they've put in, I'm assuming a ton of time, but I'm hoping that by outsourcing it, we could do it for a lower cost than we've done it in the past without legacy costs. And if we can't, then we hire an IT person to do that job. But I don't like putting more burden on our employees. I want our cops to be cops, and I want them to be able to have a lifestyle that doesn't require them to come work and then come to city council and then deal with IT, because I don't want them to burn out. I'm intimately familiar with what burnout can do, and it's stressful enough. So I don't want to wait. And I want to do something. That's why I asked for it to be on the agenda. We don't have a person in place. There's no longer an employee in the IT department. So I would like to either proceed with at least getting the RFP out there to see what we get, because that's going to take a period of time, and then we can explore it while simultaneously still relying upon Lieutenant Bisbee, Sergeant Meyer, and Nicole Reinhardt to do the logistics that they're working on. And so I guess I wanted to get input from other people about what they wanted, if anything.
Well, I believe we have we passed a motion before to go ahead and outsource, to get possibilities of looking outsource. Amy Sell was looking into that. So I believe council has made a motion and is moving on that motion. We'd have to confirm with Ms. Sell that that is the case. I believe she is on. Hi, Amy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so I have not moved forward on that RFP.
Okay, but we did give you action to go ahead and do that correctly? Or do you need some other action by council to go ahead and move forward on that?
I think I'm fine. I am fine moving forward with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments from council, questions, concerns on IT?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Lessig.
Yeah, I would like to also thank Lieutenant Bisbee and Eric Myers and Ed Horn, who is behind the scenes tonight running our new system. I did get a chance to look at it. I think it's going to be a major improvement to the reliability of all of our broadcast platforms. And I have confidence that the new Civic Engage website will be an improvement to our 8-year-old platform. And I would agree that we need to move on the IT RFP at some point with all deliberate speed. We do need to have people supporting our BSNA servers and things like that. Not necessarily a job for Mr. or Sergeant Myers to do. And so I think we do need to move forward with that, look at an outsourced service, and there are many out there. So, but also that RFP itself has to come from us and identify the equipment we have, the servers we have, and what the short and long-term needs are. I don't know if there's a service out there that comes in and independently evaluates your system and helps you put together an RFP like that, but it might not be a bad idea to have a consultant that says, here's what you need, and then have our IT outsourcing companies come back with some ideas based upon what we say are needed. Each of them is going to come in and look at something a little bit differently. So there are like IT Right works with BSNA. They have great experience with that. We also have public safety, IT issues, etc. So, we'd like to see move something forward. It is end of November. If we could get this done sometime in the next 45 days and get an RFP out, I think that would also help us during the budget discussions to find out what we do in that. And as I said, thanks again for the AV installation, and I think it's going to really be a big improvement, especially in reliability. And we do have a new YouTube channel, so check that out. Thank you.
Yep, and also the cameras, they're fully remote. They can jog them around anywhere to speak to anybody in the audience or how they're doing. The room over here looks great. Everything's stacked, everything's neat. Very impressed. I can send out a picture if you guys would like. It looks like we're back there where we should be, at least for at this point, which is very nice. Not that I know anything about computers, but it looks very impressive. Anybody else at this time? Okay. I'll close that item A, report of mayor and city council and any new business. I assume, Mr. Thompson, you're all set, or was there anything else you'd like to go over?
I'm sure you're tired of hearing from me by now, so I don't have anything that is important enough to take your time.
Great. Well, thank you for all your work this week. I know it's been a busy week, and it's only Tuesday. Councilwoman Shornack, you're on top.
Why do you stop starting with me? How am I always the first person? You got to fix
right.
it. Yeah,
You're
I'm
right.
saying you need to start from the other end.
Okay.
You always.
I'm always last, so just deal with it.
Anyway, just I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving with their family. Those who are going to be celebrating, and thank you for everybody who is doing the hard work and making hard choices there at City Hall, and other people who are doing extra duty for us because of other unforeseen circumstances. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Baranski.
Yes, first I want to follow up. I got a couple calls from the Fraser Public School City School Board, and they had questions about Garfield Road construction and wanted to know kind of where we were and where it was in our roadmap. I obviously was not on council last time Garfield Road came up, and I know it's a county road. I guess the question that they had was, and I told them I think they have to contact the county to see when it falls in their criteria. And I didn't know if anyone knew specifically who in the county they should contact, or if we as a city play any role in when that road may be up for improvements? Does anyone know?
Well, we do have a map at City Hall that the roads have all been rated, and I believe that road was originally said, I think it was 2022 was the goal to get that, but it was all about funding, and I don't believe there was any funding that was mentioned, except for it would be a costly road because of the big drain that's there that has to be done and rebuild the bridge. So it would be a costly project that Fraser would have to chip in a certain amount of percentage, which is a big chunk of change. And that's
Mr. Mayor, I might add.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Bart.
Last week, I spoke with the county road superintendent. Frankly, I can't remember the title, trying to gain some insight as to responsibility for who has responsibility for what roads and where those things might be on a funding list or funding priority list. I want to say his name was Mr. Crum, as I recall. But at any rate, he and I will be meeting shortly after the Thanksgiving holidays, because while I hadn't heard from the school board, I had the same concern. And it isn't just Garfield; it's a number of roads. Kelly is a disaster as well. And so, at any rate, I don't have an answer for you, Mrs. Baranski, but we will be asking those questions from the county. I don't have a meeting scheduled, but we will be shortly, and we'll report back to you.
Oh, that would be fabulous. Thank you so much. And then just obviously I want to wish one of our employees who has put in his notice very good luck. He's been really instrumental, Jason Hoffman, and want to wish him good luck on his next adventures and wherever life takes him. We will miss him, and just wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Councilwoman McCulca.
You're not last.
I'm not last.
You're on the
wow,
top
I don't
row.
even. Wow, look at that. I don't really have much, obviously, other than to the sentiments across the board are to thank all of the people that are stepping in for IT, right? And they've been doing a fantastic job, Lieutenant Bisbee. And you know, I just thank you so much for making this a seamless transition. It's been really great, and we're really grateful for that. I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Obviously the holidays are here. Obviously kids are at home again. So please try to use this time to love one another. I know it's difficult. I know it's tough. But the motto in my house is tough times don't last, tough people do. So keep that in mind when things are getting tough. Have a good day or night.
Thank you. Councilman Lessig.
Hello, thank you very much. I'll keep it brief. I would like to see in the next couple of months prior to the budget discussion, a capital improvement update. See where we're at with capital improvements like Garfield and what our water and sewer plans are for next year. Those are significant cost areas. So having that early on, I would like to just get a handle on that. Garfield, I believe, the last I heard, it was 2024, and the county was looking for some additional federal funds to help with the cost of it, and the total project cost was about $2.2 million. But that is, of course, subject to change. I would like to say thank you to the county for getting Hayes Road almost done. It's much quieter, and there's a few more motorcycles out there enjoying the new transcript, but we can get that taken care of with the police department.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I would like to say happy Thanksgiving to all. Stay safe, enjoy your family time. Zoom meetings are great, and My parents are celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary on Thanksgiving Day. So I would like to send out a shout to Pat and John Lesich for 60 years, and thank you for making me, my family, and even my sisters. I would like to thank you for coming too. Have a good night, all, and see you in December.
Thank you. And also, you been hearing the drag racing down Hayes, since it's a nice smooth road now, Mike?
It is a little bit, I hear a lot of motorcycles
Okay,
seeming to use a 1 mile drag strip. The rest of it's very quiet. It's appreciated.
good. Very nice. Mayor Pro Tem Winowicki.
Yes, I have a follow-up that no answer is needed right now, but I know that Councilwoman Shornack, pointed out that there was some damage done to the new paving that was done in Somerset Park. And I'd just like to hear what that follow-up is going to be on getting that new paving repaired. But I also want to comment on the usage of Somerset Park since it's been renovated. I am just blown away at the number of people that have been in that park with this ever-changing weather that we're having right now. One day it's 30, next day it's 60. It's amazing. But every time I drive by that park right now, I see more people, and I commented to my wife, I see more people in that park in the past 30 days than I have seen in 5 years in that park. So it looks great. Just somehow if we can follow up on that paving.
Right.
Echoing everyone else's sentiments of, yep. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
We're aware of the paving issue, and we've been in contact with the contractor, and we will, they'll be back in the spring to do work at Pompo Park. We'll get that issue resolved then. The damage to the paving, we noticed immediately, as did Mr. Shornack as well. So we're aware of it, and we'll get it taken care of.
Fantastic. And again, echoing all the sentiments and all the thank yous for everyone involved. I want to challenge everybody to make this Thanksgiving very, very special, because this has been one hell of a year, and excuse if that offends anyone. It's been one hell of a year, but I want to challenge everyone to find some good things that happened this year. And you won't have to search too far. And those are the things that you want to pay special thanks to. Keep your loved ones close, keep them safe. And I wish everyone a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Ms. Dolan, do you have anything you'd like to update? No, okay. Okay. And Ms. Kolka, I'm always last, so you're not always the last one.
You're right. You're right.
But yeah, by the time it gets to me, everything's already. But absolutely, as I say every meeting with the COVID, please be safe, especially with all the stores. I happen to go in a couple of them the last couple of days, and unfortunately, they're out of cleaner, they're out of the wipes, they're out of the hand stuff. So for the shoppers coming in, so make sure that you're prepared. Wash your hands, wear your masks. I just got to continue to harp on that because Fraser's still getting hit, so we have to do the best we can. I'd also like to announce that the Shop with the Hero is still on. The Public Safety Department and Paid On Call guys are going to be out on December 8th, and we're going to be. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it this year, but it's going to be COVID safe and protocols, but we're going to do the best we can with Shop with the Hero on December 8th this year. Hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Be safe. All the employees here, enjoy the couple of days off and spend it with your family, and hope that everybody enjoys it. And at this time, I will open it for citizen participation. If there's anybody who would like to comment.
I would. I raised my hand, so I don't know if I should wait or.
Oh, go ahead. I see you. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. I'd like to comment on the closure of the Parks and Rec Department as well. And there's three things I'd just like to mention. Number one, I would agree with Mr. Thompson that Christina Woods was an absolutely invaluable employee to the city. In having a discussion with a director of a neighboring Parks and Rec, once they realized what she did with the budget she had, they actually offered her a job. She didn't take that job. She stayed in Fraser and continued to do wonderful things for the city. And Mr. Thompson, you said that you felt this was the right thing financially to do for the city. But I feel the problem with that is that we pay higher taxes than any of our neighboring communities, and now we have less amenities. No Parks and Rec Department in neighboring community has closed. In fact, all of them are open and continuing to run programming. Most of them have gotten creative. They've done some virtual programming. They've put protocols in place, but we are the only city in this area that does not have a Parks and Rec Department at this time. And then I just want to mention that I was fortunate to head up a group last summer that did quite a bit of fundraising for Fort Fraser. We did raise almost $2,000 to go towards improvements at that park. Unfortunately, COVID hit and we haven't been able to continue our work. So we haven't done anything with those funds. I know Christina was holding on to those. So I hope that those are still safe and secure and still available for us to use when we're able to pick up where we left off. And then I found it concerning that Mr. Thompson said the farmer's market is a line item in the budget. Do we spend money on that? And how much do we spend? I don't know how we eliminate a whole department, but we keep a farmer's market. And finally, I'd like to say that this is an amazing city. We have, I think, some tough times and some tough things going on if our police department is running our IT. So I echo what Ms. Baranski said, and I hope we get that resolved sometime soon. But this city has, you know, I say we're the only ones without a Parks and Rec, which we are, but we're also one of the only cities in this neighboring community that has the volunteer groups that we do. So I know the volunteer groups will step up and help out where we can. I know the Lions Club right now is planning to do some type of Santa event. So I hope that we're able to pull that off and that we're able to do that for the kids. And I know groups will step up. I know they will do things, but I really think that cutting the Parks and Rec Department was a mistake. I didn't hear any talk of what the plan is, if it's just cut and we're gonna kind of see how things go. I hope there is some type of plan, and I hope the plan is to get that back on track sometime in the future. I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Pierce. Appreciate it.
If I may, just for the record, and I may have missed it, but I didn't really know who was speaking. I didn't hear the identification.
Dana Fears.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your volunteerism with the park. And we'll assure you that those funds will be there because we'll be looking forward to fix that park up a little bit, the Fort Fraser. Absolutely.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah. Ms. Stein? Hi, Sherry. You have the floor.
Hi, Mayor and City Council. Thank you, and Mr. Thompson. I just have a couple of things that were not answered, like the future of Parks and Rec. I understand at this time, what's very important is keeping our city safe, right? Keeping our children safe. I totally understand that, but I feel like there has to be some kind of plan in June, July, whenever this time comes that we can reopen, and hopefully that time will come, and it will come sooner or later, that we have a plan to reopen Parks and Rec. It's very important for our kids to have some kind of activity in our city. And no neighboring city around here has no Parks and Rec. So we would be the first city in this area with no Parks and Rec if we go that way. Another thing is the farmer's market. He said a very good, like Mr. Thompson said, a quote, farmer's market is a great social aspect. That's exactly what Parks and Rec is for families and for children, a social aspect. And every community needs that for families, for like elderly people, for children. So he was right on the dot when he said social aspects. Same thing with Parks and Rec. Also, we as a commission have been really working hard on the parks. And I just want to know update on the park signs. Are we going to still be moving forward with that? I know we were talking about that at the last meeting. I just want to make sure we keep that on our radar of updating the parks, updating the park signs. Like Council Winowicki said, that park at Somerset has never been used as much as it is now. It is great to see the children out there playing when that's all they have at this moment. So I just want to make sure those are still going to be on our plans for the future. And like Mrs. Freer said, this community is the best. I mean, the volunteers in this community are great. We all step up as much as we can. It's just sad that we're at this point. And like I said, I know it's because we have to keep our kids safe and keep everybody safe, but I just want a plan for the future. We are going to reopen everything. Everything's not going to stay closed forever. So we really need to look in the future. So, and that's all I have. And thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Sherry. Thank you for your dedication too to the city. I know you do a lot. Ms. Berube. Go ahead, Ms. Berube, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Sorry. To answer Dana Freer's comment about the line item, there are two line items. One is expenditures and one is revenues. And we use no city money whatsoever at all. It's all money that we have gotten from sponsorships and from vendors paying for their season. And also, isn't there a Goodfellows newspaper drive? Is it this Saturday? I'm not sure if it's this Saturday or not. Maybe Mrs. Baranski knows.
Mr. Mayor, yes, I am so sorry to the Goodfellows. It is this weekend. I apologize. I was so shocked we were done so early. I forgot to advertise. Please go out and buy the newspapers this weekend. Obviously, fundraising was significantly reduced. They will be out this Friday, this Saturday, maybe this Sunday. Please, please, please give so kids can have Christmas. Thank you, Ms. Berube.
You're welcome. That's all.
Thank you. Thanks for teeing that one up. Anybody else at this time? Ms. Lesage, go ahead, Laura.
Oh, get this out of here. Hi, Laura Lesage, 15201 Fairview. I too am very disappointed that the Parks and Rec department has been permanently closed at this point. And I just think that during this COVID period, what better time to do the planning? We have, like Sherry mentioned, Commissioner Stein, that there's other parks we need to do. The signs have to be completed on the two parks that were updated. And I'm so happy that these new parks are getting a lot of traffic and activity, and that's wonderful. I live within walking distance to 3 parks, and I am very disappointed that the 3 parks I'm near are not getting updated. They are a mess, and I take my grandchildren there, and they're falling apart. There's mold all over the seats. It's disgusting. Why go there? So yeah, I'm going to go to the new parks, but I'd rather be walking to these parks. So it's great that some of you on council have parks near you that are brand new and ready to roll, but there's a lot of residents out there that don't have a park, and that's not fair. That's not right. And in fact, the commissioner at this point, Parks and Rec Commission, they should be working on the 5-year plan. That is due up next year. What better time to plan all this and get things going? You want a dog park? It's in the plan today, and we can continue and get that going. The parks, the recreation department would be planning out where that park can go. You just can't close it down and expect it to pop up again and start doing everything within minutes. You can't. It's going to take time. And once you close this, it's going to take that much more time to get it up and rolling again. And yeah, there's a lot of volunteers out there, but you know what? These volunteers are kind of tired, and we need to like get the city involved in getting all this stuff done. You can't keep putting more work on the current employees. It's not going to work. It's not going to make people happy there. You want morale? You got to keep these departments going. So with that, I'm just devastated that these parks are not happening. And I wish you would reconsider getting something opened up so they could start working on the rest of these plans for these parks. And also the seniors. By the spring, you have the senior programs that can get started again. COVID, what happened? Everybody went to the parks. We could have had a plan for some other parks, and that all put into place for the springtime, and summer comes and everything will be fine. We have to be outside during COVID. What better way to be at the parks and have some planned activities there? You can have a farmer's market, then we can have some planned activities at these parks. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else at this time? I don't see any on my screen.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy
too.
Thanksgiving, everyone. Take care. Be safe.
Have fun. Enjoy your family.
Will do.